Listen at 'em.
It is the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. Hello, welcome back to the show. Tuesday, January 20th. I'm Greg, joined as always by Dave. We've got divisional round takeaways for you today. How was your weekend, sir?
It's pretty good, man. Pretty snowy, pretty cold, but made for a good environment to watch the football. That was, for the most part, another very good round of playoffs.
Yeah, it's the love-hate relationship I have with playoff football weather. It's great when you're like by a fire indoors watching it on television. It's terrible when you have to go outside and shovel. I felt like Josh Allen must have felt gutted when my snowplow didn't come to the neighborhood this morning. I digress. It's a weird time in the sports world right now because as these games are getting more and more exciting, we're also losing them. Like there's less and less of them to bet on. I'm starting to feel that bittersweet pit in my stomach as a sports bettor. Do you get that sensation too?
Yeah, and it never goes by more quickly than it does in the NFL. The week-by-week nature of it, it feels like we're like, oh my God, we're already at week 1, and then we're already halfway through, and then, we already have 3 games left, and that's it. So we've carried the podcast with us all the way through, so it's been kind of a double at the same time, kind of realizing we're getting to the end of the season here. We will continue this, not to give that impression, but, it's just quite the ride throughout the season.
Yeah, what a journey it's been. No spoilers on the future of the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast, but there will be content from Dave and I in the near future. So, on today's show, we'll recap all of it. We also have some Super Bowl prediction movement courtesy of the model to show you. We will recap some wins from the weekend as always. Of course, there's early value to look at in the AFC and NFC Championship games. So we'll show you exactly what our model projects as far as where the early lines are at for those games. But the good news, as the NFL season winds down, there's still plenty of other sports to bet on and watch. We've got a huge Tuesday in college basketball. I've got a college corner with 3 picks for you tonight. The NBA King of the Court promotion is back. And then the Amex, the American Express, and the PGA Tour is here. So plenty more to get to, but let's start as always with some things you should have bet from last week.
Should have bet that.
I came away surprised with a few of the results in the NFL playoffs, but our model wasn't. Our model went 3-1 again. Take us through it.
Yeah, it was not very far off with our best bets. 3-1 here. It's a nice little 5-2 run in the playoffs using the model picks on the show. We got Bears +4, Texans Pats over 40.5, and the Broncos money line, which was our sweet spot in the top play of the weekend. Not so much luck on the long shots. We try to find all the angles for everyone. We talk through all the games to look for everything. But you can always fall back on the model as we have week in and week out this year with some solid runs. As mentioned, just 3 games left. So a limited number of picks as far as game lines we'll have. But hopefully we can cash in at least a couple more and end on a very, very good run. Natty best bet last night cashed. Miami +8, +8.5 when we talked about it on the show last week. So you got it no matter what. Over 60% probability on that. Also nailed the exact score in the prediction in that game. It was 27-21. Not sure what the odds would have been on that. Probably pretty healthy. So too bad it wasn't a third overtime game the model could have pointed us to over the weekend. That would have been something fun that we all should have bet. It was apparently round robins of overtimes in the postseason, but good game for the bet, or for the model rather, in the Natty. And tennis model. Tennis is back. Regular season stuff. It's kind of a slow rollout on the site for when the season begins early in the year, because a lot of it's overnight and overseas, pretty far away, so it's not on the best schedule for everybody. But Australian Open is going on right now, and if you've caught the picks the first 3 days of that, you've been pretty happy. Day 2 and day 3 parlays both cashed. One voided leg in the day 3 best bets. But a nice little 6-2-1 run to start the season, or to start the tournament rather, with a pair of parlay cashes. Lots of bets on site, but our man Nick Slade is cooking up the daily articles for tennis. So keep your eye out for the featured picks. You'll find those on the homepage. You'll find them on our socials. Day 4 is up now, just under 10-1 odds on the parlay. I believe it is 3 legs again. So be sure to look out for that. Those don't come until later tonight, so you should have plenty of time to get that in, depending when you're getting this podcast. So pretty good stuff over the weekend for the model, and hopefully we have plenty more to come this week.
I don't know how much we've talked about this. You may know this from my time at Dimers years ago, but I'm a secretly huge tennis fan. I played in high school, and I watch a lot of professional tennis. So when the majors come around, the Dimers model is like the best for majors because it feels like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like there's a really high volume of tennis bets that show high edges and sweet spots. So like any given day, if you go to the tennis best bets on site, there's just more to choose from in big tournaments. It feels like, maybe just because of how many different matches there are in the tournament. But I'm scrolling through today, like I've already got like an 11 pick card courtesy of the Divers Best Bets tennis page. So check it out. If anyone listening to this is a tennis fan, make sure you dive through it the way I do. And I want to quickly touch on the college football national championship. We're not going to do a big belabored recap of this the way we will with NFL, but really frustrating bad beat on the under, which we also showed value on and was my favorite play of that. There were 10 points at halftime. The line was 47.5 is where it closed. And thanks to a false start penalty on 2nd and 1 from the nation's best offensive lineman, that goes over because they end up needing to kick a field goal because they couldn't pick up 1 yard. One of the stranger ways I've ever lost a bet. It looked like not only was the +8 that the model liked going to cash, but also the under that the model liked, and it was going to hit 100%. So needed a little bit of bad fortune there, I would say, to not have the perfect read, but how much more perfect can you get than nailing the exact score of 27-21? We did the Big College Corner pre-championship segment, and I was like, look, the model says this, but you're not going to feel good about it. Maybe we should have just listened. Maybe it wasn't all that complicated, and the model tried to tell us, Dave.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. That's why we lean on you, Greg, to help guide us through it. And either way, it was a good run for the College Corner this season, and I'm already looking forward to next year's.
Yeah, time to pivot into basketball and get that good momentum rolling again. Okay, it's time to go through some takeaways from the divisional round of the NFL playoffs.
The week that was.
Lots of games in general I don't think many people saw coming, but the favorites did pretty well across the board here, I would say. A year full of no chalk is turning into a pretty chalky conclusion to the NFL playoffs. What'd you learn?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. A big wide open bracket is whittling down to pretty much just the favorites, save for a couple upsets in the wild card. Unexpected ways for the teams to get there. Not really surprised at who advanced, maybe except for the Rams game. It was pretty much not really, which was rather the script we kind of expected. But it's just some weird stuff. You know, I thought that Bills-Broncos game would hinge on the run game, and it did, but in the complete opposite way. It was like a Freaky Friday style swap. The Bills just ran all over the Broncos. Broncos couldn't get anything going on the ground, and just kind of not really what I expected at all. And it's hard to believe that despite all that run game success, we saw 4 turnovers from Josh Allen, even though they were able to flip the script in the way we thought was probably least likely of all. And then the Bo Nix injury, came later after that game. It was like a double take when I saw the notification on my phone. It just happened. Nobody saw anything during the game, and we had no idea. And obviously after that, everyone's like, wow, look at the Broncos. Here we go. And then just comes to maybe a grinding halt with that. Did not see the 49ers blowout coming at all. You know, we loved that angle from the 49ers side in that game. And I guess, of course, it's in the realm of results with what we've seen from Seattle this year, but maybe all that injury stuff just came to a head. But it was basically over from the first play. And we might be sitting here at the end of all this, depending what happens this Sunday and in the Super Bowl, pending the results of the NFC Championship. Rashid Shaheed, maybe one of the most impactful midseason acquisitions in recent history. And then Texans, Patriots. I mean, that game was just really disappointing. I did not watch very much of that one because it was when I was outside shoveling. So I had it, the audio playing anyway, so I could listen to it. So I couldn't see a lot without having to go back and check the recap. But I mean, the defense sounded like they kept gifting CJ Stroud many opportunities, and he just quite literally threw them away. Drake May, again, did not play well enough to really win the game without help from the other side. Huge opportunity for CJ Stroud to take that next step, get as far as he's gotten, and he couldn't. 3 touchdowns and 6 picks in his last 5 playoff games. Starting to wonder if he's going to get the next kind of will he or won't he, or is, not necessarily is he a bust, but when is he going to take that next step? Because he seems to be hitting about as big of a wall as you can in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. He looked visibly shaken just mentally. He was missing like open throws to the flat and just putting it at guys' ankles. And it did harken back. I always preach this as a college sports aficionado. Sometimes you can tell what these guys are from their big games in college for big games in the playoffs. And the story of CJ Stroud's college career was great regular seasons followed by that big rivalry game against Michigan where his teams would struggle and couldn't get over the hump. So, yeah, strange all around. I mean, not strange when we end up with the 1 and the 2 seed, but strange in the sense we both expected more chaos. And here we are. The Niners is the most disappointing thing to me. At the same time, I don't mean to just shrug it off because I was aggressively all over the Niners to win this game outright and could not have been more wrong. If you would have told me the opening kickoff was ran back, I would have felt so different about that game. I mean, that was just a game they needed to start on the right foot and get some momentum. Yeah. Playing from behind was not conducive whatsoever to it. I feel for Josh Allen at the same time. How hard are we supposed to feel for a guy that turned it over 4 times in a game that went to overtime again? It's like this guy just can't. He cannot emerge in a wide open run. And to make it worse, I mean, I know nobody expected this, but it's got to kill him to see Jarrett Stidham starting in an AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you want to be there, win the game. He once again got them very close at the end, turning that game around and coming back from a deficit. But it definitely sucks to lose and then not even see the main guy for the Broncos, Bo Nix actually go and play and kind of bring it to fruition, lead the rest of the season. So yeah, it definitely hurts. A lot of questions about the officiating in that game, at least around that big play at the end with Brandon Cooks and McMillan intercepting it. I don't know. It's not really an issue for me. It really doesn't bother me at all. It felt like as soon as they hit the ground, the ball came out. McMillan came up with it immediately. It wasn't like there was wrestling after they went to the ground. You're watching the replay. He's got his arm in there pretty much the whole time, kind of preventing Cooks from pulling it into his body. If there's no defender there, he hits the ground and that ball pops out. It's an incomplete pass. So I don't really see any different between him going to the ground at the same time and the ball's in the defender's hands when they both get up. So, I get it. It's a non-issue, I think. Seemed like it was a really well officiated game up to that point. There were a lot of deep passes. Not a lot of pass interference called. Seemed like they were really letting them play. And frankly, we see a lot worse, if not week to week, at least pretty often during the regular season, that I think deserves outrage. This one, really not so much, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from. The thing that outrages me is not necessarily the decision they made on the call. It's an interception. I'm outraged they didn't go to a prolonged review. How do we prolong every review in this sport meaninglessly? So, just the amount of reviews and plays that do not need to be reviewed that are sent to review drives me insane when you actually get to the play that's going to decide 2 teams' fates in the postseason, refusing to just take a closer look at that moment, given the stakes, when it's clearly a play that was up for grabs. Makes no sense to me. It just kind of signals the incompetence of this league in general. It's like we overthink the easy things we shouldn't be spending time on, and we can't spend additional time on the things that we should. At the same time, maybe the answer to that is because watching it in real time, it's like, I think if they had gone to review, they overturn it and call it a catch, because by definition, there's one angle where you see him on the ground, but in real time, I thought it was an interception. I have no issue with calling it an interception in real time. It's just, I will not get over the fact they didn't just take a closer look.
Yeah, not enough clarity around the process in general. If they were doing the expedited review, and they were, which we've seen come into play this season where they call in and they basically overturn or adjust a call before the refs even have a chance to convene. Maybe that's the case, but, again, there's just not enough clarity. It should be a clear step-by-step process, so to speak. It needs to be transparent to the viewer, I guess. But, I have no issues with the call itself. I'm always going to be biased with the catches that aren't catches anyway. So I digress.
Yeah. Scott Hansen needs to fix this. That's my takeaway. All things football, just Scott Hansen has to figure it out. I feel like he's able to if we just give more power to Mr. Scott Hansen. So there you have it. Okay. Let's take a look at futures next. 4 teams remaining. Tons has changed since the last time we took a futures look here. So what is the model like as far as futures update goes?
So I'll pull it up here. Model's totally aligned with the books as far as the order of probability at each team's best odds. Not really much to speak of in the way of value. It is on the Broncos kind of naturally because their odds are so long at plus 1,300, 11%, still very small compared to the other teams, almost a third of the Seahawks. So, it's still a long shot. It's plus 1,300. That would be about 7% or so, I believe. I don't really see the miracle run from Stidham. That pass defense will probably cause them some problems, but you have to imagine they would be the biggest Super Bowl underdog in some time if they did win this game. So, it could be worth maybe a dart throw if you really think there's something there. But realistically, I don't think you're going to find the Broncos with the Super Bowl in their hands at the end of the game. And then you have Seahawks 32.6%, the Rams 29.9%, just behind them. Patriots 26.4%. So all pretty close. If it'd be a lot more interesting if Bo Nix was healthy. These odds would probably be tighter. You might be able to get a little bit better value on one of these teams at the top of the board, where they're obviously the clear favorites over Denver. You're effectively, if you're trying to get Super Bowl value at this point, you're effectively just betting a 2-game money line parlay without knowing who the opponent is in the second game, because there's only 2 games left. Somebody is going to be minus odds come the end of this round, and that's it. So I think if you're really trying to find an edge here, not really an edge, but a bet to make here, your process, I think, needs to be as simple as, do you think the Pats can beat the Seahawks or the Rams? If you think so, you should probably bet them now because they won't be plus 260 when this is down to just 2 teams, even though the NFC team will very likely be the favorite. And if you think it's going to be the NFC winner, you should probably get them now because they'll be minus odds come the Super Bowl. And then maybe you'll have yourself a little tiny hedge opportunity against the Patriots. But I do think you're pretty much looking at NFC to be favored against the Patriots here. So not really any opportunities to steal an edge on, or maybe just bet your favorite matchup if you think it's Seahawks Patriots or Rams Patriots and care less about who wins.
Yeah, I have to say I'm surprised by one thing with these futures, and maybe I shouldn't be, or maybe just the model's probabilities even, not just where the lines are priced, but I am surprised the Pats are valued as the 3rd most likely outcome here in terms of probability from the model. Just given, and we'll get to our thoughts on these games soon, but given the fact that they, in my opinion, are sort of gifted this bye, right? They're more than twice as likely as the Broncos here. I think the Seahawks-Ram game is more of a toss-up that is being billed here. And I felt strongly that the NFC coming in was the much more likely conference to determine a champion. So I certainly still feel that way. I think the Seahawks and Rams are the best 2 teams here. But I think if you assume the Patriots are winning and they get a bye, and the Seahawks and Rams need to win 2 games that are up for grabs as opposed to 1 that's up for grabs, I'm very surprised to see the Pats priced here. I'm not saying to fire at it, but if you are a believer that the Pats can beat the Seahawks or Rams, I think this is pretty great value given that. I just would not make them the 3rd most likely outcome given that they're playing Jarrett Stidham to make a Super Bowl. The other weird twisted way to do this, and I'm not advocating this because it's Jarrett Stidham. If you think there's any chance that the Broncos can beat the Patriots at home with a Super Bowl appearance on the line, like you're just going to need a defensive masterpiece, but we've seen crazier things. taking a flyer on the Broncos at 13-1 and then just being able to hedge in the championship and cover your bet and hold a weird Broncos fluke run ticket is not the craziest angle I've ever heard of. Like, how do you get 13-1 odds on a team to win the Super Bowl when they're one game away? I feel like we never see that.
Yeah, I mean, I would not really even be floating the idea if we didn't have at least some edge in it, but there is a betting value to be had. 11% would be just plus 900, which even then I think you would be like, all right, that's probably appropriate for 4 teams left in the Broncos, but 1,300 is pretty long. Yeah, I know it would be a fluke run for sure. And we'll talk about this game specifically and the outlook for Jarrett Stidham and whatnot in a bit. But yeah, I mean, crazier things.
Well, it makes sense, right? But I view them differently, I think, because they're at home. If this game was in New England, there's no way I can wrap my brain around it. But like, I absolutely can see the Broncos holding on to their flawless record at home and just grit and grinding their way through a defensive masterpiece. And all of a sudden you look up. To me, yeah, like you said, there's not exactly a lot of room for action here with the updated lines, but I keep staring at that 13-1. Like, what if they just somehow find a way? And I am personally surprised that the Pats are the third most likely outcome here, given that it is Jarrett Stidham. All right. Thank you for the check-in with the futures model. Reminder, the beauty of this model is it updates in real time. So when a starting quarterback gets injured, you're going to see the wild fluctuations change immediately and tell you exactly how likely each team is to ultimately get to their ultimate prize. Get Dimers Pro so you can access all of this information in real time for yourself. You can get 50% off of Dimers Pro by using promo code podcast. Make sure you check it out. It's time next to turn to the conference championship games with our early value preview.
The early edge.
On Thursday this week, we will lock in our models picks, give you our official best bets and any personal angles that we have. But we do just want to take a quick glance at both of these games early in the week and see what our model projects. Let's start with the Pats and the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to try and not to get too deep into this, given the fact that there are some lines that have yet to come up, given the nature of Jarrett Stidham. However, there are some things we can use. Unlike games where we kind of have the status of a player, in flux as we get there. But yeah, as mismatched as this game may be on paper, given to the Jarrett Stidham starting, it is still, I guess, only a 5.5 point spread, which may be a little surprising. So we're going to try and find some value in this game either way. We got 54.2% on the Broncos to cover plus 5.5. That's a very slight edge of 0.7%, basically just fair odds, but it is a little bit of an advantage in probability. The total 41.5 is a 50-50 split, and Broncos money line is at 30.7%. They're plus 210, which is actually a negative edge. You probably want this around 225 or so not that far off, but anyway, pretty appropriate, I think, for what we're seeing given the circumstances of the backup. Kind of a fun narrative, I guess. I mean, nothing really to make of it, but Jarrett Stidham was drafted by the Patriots back in 2019. So, if you do like that miracle run, whatever, I guess you maybe want to buy into that a little bit. But he made a very small handful of appearances for the Pats. Hasn't played in any meaningful NFL action since the last 2 games of the 2023 season. So, not a whole lot to go off of here. I guess he's sort of got the advantage that the fact he's been with the organization for a couple years here. He's not like coming out of nowhere and making his first appearance ever. He filled in for Russell Wilson at the back end of that season, played for Sean Payton at least. But my just thoughts about the Lions and stuff in general are that it's not a really favorable number. I'm kind of surprised it's not 6.5 or 6 even. I'm wondering if maybe it would be if the Patriots looked a little more convincing in the first couple of games, if Drake May maybe played a little bit cleaner. It is on the road, but maybe they would be getting almost that full touchdown. But either way, I would much rather have it there. It's not really a great number for a team in a backup situation. And if you have to, or if you want to, you'd have to pay up to minus 137 to get 6.5. So personally, I'd probably wait if you're on trying to catch some value on the Broncos. I'd personally wait, see if it moves to 6.5, maybe 7. I don't think it's going to get any tighter. The Patriots don't have any like looming injury news. There's no reason to be concerned that they would suddenly shorten up in this. I don't think. I mean, maybe you'd be concerned about public betting the Patriots too much, but then I guess that would probably lengthen the spread, right, in favor of the Broncos. So if you're on the Patriots side, I think I would just like to play an alternate spread now. You can get plus money at 6.5 since it's all the way at minus 137 for Denver. I think it was plus 105 if you take the Patriots 6.5. So, there's not really a major value incentive to betting the Broncos. And if you're going to get the Patriots, I think you should just get the better odds at virtually the same number. I don't think, not very likely. I think they're going to win by exactly 6. It does happen, but I do think they're going to control this game pretty well. So I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. I think if you want to back the Pats, you jump at the number now, whether that's the alternate line you floated. I think getting plus money minus 6.5 is absolutely a great value idea around, this is basically, are they going to win by 1 score or not? If you think yes, and you can get plus money at it, that feels like a green light to me. Coming into this, before looking at the futures model results with you, I was very willing to say the Broncos have no chance. This is the Pats. And then I just stare at how we had the Broncos showing a slight edge at 13-1. And now here we are showing a slight, I don't know, I don't know. It's weird. I'm staring at the Broncos like, is there something here with this? I don't think I'm going to get there. I really don't. I can't get past the idea of Jarrett Stidham needing to make some big plays to win this game. And I think if there was a team in the league right now that could survive losing a quarterback, honestly, Denver is one. Like, they can win a game defensively. It's not like they're getting 300 yards passing a game to these guys as is. But ultimately, I don't know. I think this is going to give Drake May a little bit of a confidence boost. He was erratic in the first playoff game. I thought he was pretty solid in bad weather in the second. I think he's going to come in and give his best performance to date. So I'll be in alignment with you on the Pats side of this, as gross as it is, staring at some of these early projections from the model and saying we lean the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would be a little less inclined here if the Broncos were showing money line value. They're not right now. Even if the spread was showing, 2% of an edge, which would put it on our best bets radar, I'd feel a little differently here. But, at 54.2%, which is a modest probability, but no value, there's, the model is telling you that there is no incentive to betting the spread, at least from a EV perspective. Just looking at player props and stuff. Offensively, real quick, let's look at the Broncos. Like, the model isn't projecting them to suddenly fall off the face of the earth. And like I said, Stidham has been in this organization, so I don't know if it's doom and gloom for the Broncos. It might benefit the guys who are, playing kind of on the, the wide receiver 4 roles. Like, I don't know, would that be little Jordan Humphrey coming off of his big game, I guess? But, whoever he's played with, that familiarity will probably show itself at some point. He's going to have to look for something he's familiar with. But the projections aren't outright terrible for the Broncos receivers. 55 yards for Cortland Sutton isn't that far off from what we had him at last week. Pat Bryant, 31, Troy Franklin, 28, Evan Engram, 24. The touchdown probabilities are where you're seeing the big difference. Sutton's only 28%, which is really low. Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin here, the big play guy, is only 18%. And I think that makes sense. Not only have the Patriots allowed only 3 plays over 20 yards in their 2 playoff games, that's rushing and receiving, but I just don't think you're going to see Stidham connecting with these guys on some of those deep sideline plays that they kind of not rely on, but thrive with, I guess. The short field guys, I think, are going to be better off. Like Evan Engram, I think we have him for like 2.4 receptions, or no, it's 24 yards, maybe 2.5 or 2.6 receptions when I looked earlier. He's kind of an interesting one for receptions. He's like plus 270 for 4 catches. Certainly feasible over the middle, something like that. RJ Harvey projected for 19 receiving yards. He might catch a couple extra dump offs. We are projecting him well below his rushing line. Only 47 yards here, and he looked pretty rough in that regard last week. So I don't know. Not a ton of lines up there for receiving guys right now. I think you can find Sutton and Ingram pretty much across the board, and that's about it. Looking at the Patriots side, again, a sloppy game for the offense last week, but Ramondre Stevenson again looked really good. Well outproduced Travion Henderson. He's again projected here to lead 50 yards to 39, 42% touchdown to 35% for Henderson. His line is 47.5 rushing, so projecting him to go over that. That's certainly an angle worth looking at. But you're getting a really good passing defense in the Broncos here. So who really steps up for the Pats in the receiving game is, I feel a little more comfortable settling on someone if Drake May looked himself a little more comfortable the last couple of games. But one other thing I did want to call out that I put in my notes, let's see if he's still here. So we have value on Cortland Sutton to score a touchdown. And then Jarrett Stidham over 0.5 passing touchdowns. He is minus 196. So this isn't just the model necessarily miscalculating a guy who hasn't played in forever, plugging him in here. We have a 70.9% probability of him to throw one touchdown at least. But the books have a minus 196. So they are cooking in the ability for Jarrett Stidham to score or to throw a passing touchdown here. Cortland Sutton's the only one on the Broncos who gets an edge, 28.2% plus 290. Might be worth a little shot there as they're not writing him off, the offense completely. Or take a dart throw on a deep cut guy. But even the books are, via implied probability suggesting Stidham will at least get one guy in the end zone.
Yeah, you never know with backup quarterbacks how things are going to change. And you can often think it's very linear, but the reality is it's one of the more unpredictable things to monitor ever. We can only look at what Stidham's done in preseasons and very limited opportunities. And I would compare it to one of the more frequent backup quarterback situations we've seen in recent years. The Minnesota Vikings, with all these changes every single week, it's like, how's it going to affect their receiver room? Well, sometimes you get juiced up odds for Justin Jefferson with a quarterback who can find him better than J.J. McCarthy can. Now, I'm not saying that's the route that's going to happen with Sutton, but anytime you get a wide receiver one, first option, clear-cut guy at 3-1, nearly double the value of what he's normally priced at, it's like, it makes me look twice, right? He's still every bit the best receiver in that room. He's every bit the best player, I think, offensively on that team. And that's going to create opportunities creatively one way or another, no matter who's taking the snaps under center. So I like the Sutton shout for sure. I'm also already looking ahead. You've heard me get creative with interception props and turnovers this playoffs. The Pats have been forcing tons of turnovers in this run. I mean, you can question what they've looked like offensively, but they forced 5 against the Texans. They forced 2 in the wild card round. And I think, even if they are kind of out to an early lead, I would think part of this game plan is trying to force negative plays against Denver and Jarrett Stidham. And I think they've been pretty damn good at it. They did have 1 interception return for a touchdown against CJ Stroud. I'm thinking Pats defense special teams to score might be on my card this week. It's 4-1, so you are paying the premium. I doubt there's any real edge there whatsoever. But I think there's a really good chance they could continue their mischievous turnover forcing ways.
Yeah, I mean, that alongside the games to go to overtime round robin would have been pretty fruitful this past weekend. So certainly an option. I mean, if you do that, I feel like you got to play it with Seahawks and Rashid Shaheed, right? So
yeah, why not?
Maybe something to look at for the crazies.
Yeah, we'll finalize our cards on the Thursday episode, as we said. But Rashid Shaheed is a good segue. Let's go to game 2. Rams and Seahawks here. This is you and I's Super Bowl pick. The Los Angeles Rams still alive, still a chance to come to fruition for the show. However, our model projects a 2-point loss to the Seahawks. Is there any early edge?
Nope, not really. This total is, 47.5 with a 50-50 split, minus 105 here. Rams plus 2.5, 50-50 minus 105. Rams money line, 42.5% plus 130. So all negative edges here as far as game lines. No particularly sharp, leans from the model. 42.5% for the Rams. Almost a little surprised it's not a little higher, just given how close I think we expect this game to be. But yeah, we'll see if we could find the spot for us. This is kind of a fun one because that last game obviously went massively over the total. It was back and forth. It was a crazy game. I think you would have found success with the middle in that game. And while some teams, I feel like going into the NFC Championship, I would like to tax for almost losing on a fadeaway touchdown bomb by Caleb Williams in the waning seconds. The Rams get a little bit of a pass. I think that's exactly how we thought the Bears would play that game. And ultimately, they did hold them off, and they won the game, if not for a little bit of a gift by Caleb Williams. Now they got a chance here to snap the Seahawks, who are perfect 3-0 in NFC Championship games. Split the series during the regular season. Combined margin of victory of just 3 points in those two games. So I don't really expect that to be much different in this one. A little surprised I didn't see this at 1.5. Feels like it certainly could be close to that. Some of the lines that we've seen at 1.5 in these playoff games, this certainly feels like a game that those two teams are similarly matched. But you're getting, I guess, if you like the Rams, much better odds given that they are only, or that they are 2.5 point dogs rather than 1.5. Plus 130 is pretty solid for almost a field goal, rather than this being closer to pick 'em on money line odds, which frankly sucks when it's in that range, which we saw last week and the week before. I think both with the Bills games. So Darnold is managing that oblique injury. Given the nature of the game script in that game against the Niners, we didn't really get a lot of insight into how much it might have impacted him. They attempted just 17 passes, really low passing yards total. The game script, just they didn't need to really do much of anything. Defense took care of it all, and the run game was solid. Zach Charbonnet, speaking of the run game, done for the season with his ACL injury. We'll talk about that a little bit in our props check, but going to be a very different run game for Seattle, who have deployed a major backfield split, maybe one of the more prominent ones in the league for pretty much the entire season. So that's going to be kind of a fun one to sort through between now and Thursday's show. Frankly, personally, without a real lean from the model, I'm definitely confident that I like Rams plus 2.5 on this. Certainly think the upset is well in play. Another one that, dare I say, might try to middle it. Didn't hit in the Texans pass game last week, but I did also call it out in the Bears-Rams in that game preview. And that one cashed. That was like plus 500 because the spread was a little wider at plus 4.5. But, Seattle money line Rams plus 2.5. You get plus 1,000 for the middle in this. And either way, I think the Rams are certainly live to cover and live for an upset. No real thoughts on the total right now, though I can see it being a shootout. All my leans where I thought it was going under were pretty well off. The defense didn't show up in the games where I thought it would, and the games ended up going over. So I would probably just lean that way. But I'd be more comfortable playing Rams or the money line spread or the money line.
Davey Middleman is back. He's yeah, I was watching the Bears-Rams game, realizing that one was headed directly to that path as that overtime drive was happening. I think I'm going to have a hard time not betting Rams money line here. I think as much as I respect what Seattle has been doing, that plus 130 is just staring right at me with the only Super Bowl winning quarterback still here. Darnold, I think you could not have asked for an easier game script for him against the Niners. And obviously, again, that speaks to how good Seattle is. If Rashid Shaheed runs the opening kickoff back, I will greatly regret betting the Rams. But I just think when you can get Darnold in a game pressure situation, which the Rams offense is just good enough, it forces that. I think a playoff game is a bit different. And to Darnold's credit, last time these two teams played in December with real playoff implications, Darnold rose to the occasion and led them on the game-winning drive, 2-point conversion to win. But that kind of spoke to exactly how good he needed to be in crunch time just to escape with a 1-point win against the Rams. And he had 2 interceptions in that game. If that happens again in a playoff game, I think we start to see the head spinning a little bit. So it's the whole way I handicap NFL playoffs. And I said it at the beginning of this entire playoff run. Give me the team with the quarterback I trust most. It's why I have the Rams coming out victorious as Super Bowl champions. And at plus money in this game, I'm not going to be able to resist it. The one thing that scares me most, though, maybe you can tell me that there's some prop value ways to attack this. I think the Seahawks got better with Zach Charbonnet being out for the season. I know that sounds crazy, but every time I watch this team, Kenneth Walker is way more dynamic. You can't bring him down. He's bouncing off guys. He can switch fields. And you saw it happen in as that game played out. Walker went crazy as he just became a 3-down back instead of an every other snap guy. So I know Charbonnet was the guy they trust between the tackles and in the red zone. I've never understood why Kenneth Walker can also do that. And I'm honestly fearful of a Kenneth Walker masterpiece. What does the model project?
Well, frankly, he's going to have to be that good, I think, if they want to find success with the run game. They have no other active running back on the roster behind Ken Walker. He's immediately getting his biggest projection of the year, 87 rushing yards, 51% TD probability. Right now, behind him, we have Cam Akers. Of course, by the way, former Ram. If he is in this game, I'm telling you, I will bet Cam Akers to score a touchdown no matter what. I have to, against his former team. There's just no way that I'm not getting a piece of that. But he's on the practice squad. So is Velus Jones Jr., who he was active in the past game, rushed for 10 yards on 6 carries after Charbonnet went down. But I mean, if Ken Walker isn't finding success on the ground, I don't think the likes of Cam Akers and Velus Jones Jr. will. And it's probably going to be a tough night for Seattle to get going there. Either way, though, DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai put up 110 combined rushing yards last week. So it could be a nice game for Walker. I definitely would entertain his rushing yards once we get a little bit more clarity on who the Rams or who the Seahawks call up from the practice squad. However, his TD probability at 51% is well below implied probability. His odds are about -175. So he's super juiced to score a touchdown. And the model does not agree with him in that regard. And frankly, I think that should theoretically anyway go down when we get an official RB2 in here, because there will be another presence in the backfield. And we know they deploy the split, and it would kind of surprise me to see them just completely go away from that. But we'll see. Rams backfield wise, Kyron Williams just absolutely massively outproduced Corum last week. Killed our little SNF parlay in that, which was disappointing because Corum's been so active lately. But it was just all Kyron last week. Corum wasn't very effective in his work. I think he only handled about 6 carries. Pretty low line for him this week, though, 28.5, projected for 36.4 yards. So maybe you can take advantage of that. Might be getting cooked in a lower line for that. And then offensively, I think the only other really fun angle here is, we're getting the 2 offensive player of the year favorites going head to head in the NFC Championship game. So fitting. 90 plus yards and a TD each cashed in the last meeting. That's certainly going to be on my radar again in this one. Both are projected for 90 plus and at least a 41% TD probability. That is Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I realize I did not mention, but context clues probably put that out there. But yeah, that'll certainly be on my radar. That's plus 700 on DraftKings. I didn't shop around for it, which I certainly will if I play it, or when I play it, most likely. But only other thing I would look at in props is it was our top projected one. If it's still in here, okay, it's still pretty high, 57.1%. Darnold's under cash with ease in the last game, partly because of game script, but maybe because of the injury too. I would kind of like it again in this one, I think. Certainly worth a look. Maybe his passing completions as well. But for the most part, I'll be looking at backfield angles once we get a little more clarity in Seattle, and that receiving game, little parlay between those 2 guys.
Yeah, and to your point on Akers, and back to my whole issue with the Seattle backfield, they can't stop themselves from giving carries to RB2s and RB3s, whoever it is. So just because Akers hasn't been involved in a while, if he is listed as the RB2, they're probably going to use him as a change of pace guy quite a bit against his former team. I think there will be some value depending on where those lines ultimately fall. So, okay. Thank you for the early look here. We'll have plenty more on both of these conference championship matchups on the Thursday rendition of this show. For now, there's college hoops to get to. It's time for my College Corner.
College Corner.
We had so much momentum with college football, College Corner. When we've tried to get into the college basketball realm, it's been a little bit quieter start to the season. That changes tonight. I'm coming in with the utmost confidence for this card. 3 picks that are personal preferences of mine, that the model also shows either an edge, a sweet spot, or both. We start with UCLA plus 5.5 against Purdue. Now, I do have to throw this caveat out there anytime I talk Purdue. I co-host a podcast with Purdue's best player. It's Braden Smith. I don't formally bet any Purdue games. I literally haven't this season, and it's one of my biggest sad parts of hosting a podcast with that player. However, I would look my co-host in the eyes and let him know that I think this is a really dangerous spot for Purdue for a variety of reasons. Number one, UCLA is at home with their back against the wall. They are undefeated at home this season. They are currently getting berated by their head coach, Mick Cronin, for just effort and lack of defensive intensity. Sounds an awful lot like last year, where at this exact same point in the season, UCLA was 2-4 in the Big Ten, 11-6 overall, had lost 4 consecutive games, and then in the middle of January had a home stretch where they played 5 of 7 games at home, where they're very good, won 7 straight games, and looked like a totally different team. This is the Mick Cronin formula. Look terrible on the road, be really hard to beat at home, reach your lowest point where he's calling out his own players' effort, and then respond to it at home and pick up some marquee victories. He does this every single year. I think that's where we're headed tonight, especially because there are some red flags going on with Purdue. They haven't played their best ball in 2 weeks. Actually, Bart Torvik has them as the 30th best team in the country over their last 4-game sample size. That's not the level they were playing at in the non-conference, and it's easy to see why. Trey Kaufman-Renn has been struggling on both ends, and Braden Smith is banged up. He got hurt in that win over USC, so I don't know what percent Braden's going to be at. Obviously, co-host, I'm rooting for you, buddy, but I think this is a really dangerous spot. I see UCLA plus 5.5 as one of the better sides to be on, and our model certainly agrees. Moving next to the Big 12, where we have Iowa State minus 13 at home against UCF. This is your typical throwback, bounce-back spot of all spots. Iowa State was 0-2 last week after starting the year 16-0, but both those games were on the road. They lost to Kansas in blowout fashion. They let that hit them again on the road against Cincinnati. UCF is good. However, UCF just gave it their all against the best team in the country, Arizona, and I think they're going to be a little bit out of gas. It's a difficult ask to play the best team in the country and then go on the road to a pissed-off Iowa State team. This Iowa State team all season long has played like the second or third best team in the country. It was a blip on the radar that they didn't last week, and our model loves Iowa State minus 13.5 here as well. Finally, the third play of the night, it is St. John's at home, minus 10.5 against Seton Hall. I've been trying to bring people's attention to the fact that the Big East is going to yield some really misleading results, simply because when college basketball games are played between two teams, one team has to win. And that means if two bad teams play each other, sometimes bad teams end up looking good by beating other bad teams. That's what's going on in the Big East right now. The Big East has 2 teams that are legitimately quality basketball teams. It's UConn and St. John's. Outside of those 2, Villanova is the 27th best team in the country per KenPom. No other team in this conference is inside the top 50 nationally. So when Seton Hall gets off to a 14-2 start, that looks good until you realize they haven't beaten a top 50 opponent. It's entirely schedule dependent. And now here they go on the road against a St. John's team that is one of those 2 legitimately good teams, but especially for Seton Hall, coming off a week, they just lost 2 straight games at home. I think they're reeling a little bit. St. John's, you look through their most recent games, they've beaten up on quote-unquote bad teams. A 14-point win over Butler on the road, a 17-point win over Creighton on the road. Those teams are similar in caliber to Seton Hall. The difference, this game is at home, and St. John's is rolling. I like the Johnnies big in another blowout here. Added together, that's our full card. 3 teams at home that I think have schedule spots that really favor good performances here. It's UCLA, Iowa State, and St. John's.
Awesome stuff, Greg. Thank you as always. One of my favorite segments.
Let's get some wins, Dave. We need it.
Yeah, baby.
And reminder, if you like the College Corner, we do this every single week. We're going to have plenty more for you in college basketball as we get closer and closer to the NCAA tournament. If you don't mind, please give us a like, subscribe to the show so that you get alerts every single time we do College Corner. You got to get those alerts so that when you listen to this episode on a Tuesday afternoon, you might have just an hour until these games tip off. So make sure you get notified as quick as possible. Click subscribe to the podcast. Let's go to the NBA next, where the King of the Court promotion is back, courtesy of DraftKings. Reminder, you bet $5 on any player prop market, points, threes, assists, rebounds, etc., using the King of the Court token. If that player leads all NBA players in total points, rebounds, and assists that night, you and everyone who picked them will split a $1 million bonus bet pool. Let's take a closer look at our projections and see who Dave likes for tonight.
Yep. So we'll start with our top 3 overall, as we always do. Big surprise. Luka leads the board tonight. We'll say it's a little bit lower of a projection than we've seen from him recently. Maybe something to read into, maybe not. He has been under 50 PRA in his last 3 games. A little bit notable since every King of the Court winner so far has cleared that mark. Still, the model does love him tonight. 32.5 points, which would lead the slate. 8.1 assists, second highest on the night. Obviously, very real ceiling against pretty much anybody, including Denver. Just kind of feels like lately we're seeing a bit more high floor Luka than the nuclear performances. Granted, he is so well-rounded, he doesn't necessarily need to score 40 points to really stuff the stat sheet and hit this. I mean, a 30-point night with his usual output in the other categories could put him very close. So he's always a threat. But, me personally, I'm just never going to go with the favorite here. So we'll go down the board to the next one. Second overall, James Harden getting the Bulls. Might be Luka's biggest threat, according to projections, although nominal discrepancy between him and the next player, Anthony Edwards. Harden's coming off of a 52 PR game against the Wizards. Back-to-back 30-point games with Leonard out. Kind of notable, he did that while going 2 from 17 from 3 in that span. So if he could, find that stroke a little bit better, he could really push the ceiling tonight. His 4 biggest PRA games this season, 52, 56, 65, and 66. Notably, all came in a 2-week November stretch when Kawhi Leonard was not playing. So maybe starting the beginning of another run here without Kawhi where he stuffs the stat sheet. So maybe possible triple-double play here. He's got a pretty good matchup against the Bulls defense. Third overall, Anthony Edwards versus the Jazz, 41.1 PRA. We've seen him win King of the Court the last time he was projected third, $108 bonus bet that night. Smashed his projection in the past game, 55 points, 62 PRA. His profile is very scoring driven. He's a top 5 scorer in the league, but he doesn't really stack up rebounds and assists. He is outside the top 60 in both of those categories. So, like I said, it hasn't stopped him from winning before. He did win on December 2nd when we had him in third, but it was with 44 points. He pretty much needs an absolutely nuclear scoring performance to do this. Not nuclear, but, a very high upside performance. Gets a great matchup with the Jazz, pretty much the best in the league. When you're chasing upside like this, dead last in points allowed, assists allowed, and threes allowed. That is over the course of the entire season and over their past 7 games. So it's held strong pretty much all year. He's got just one 35-point game since Christmas, but he just had that big game the other night. So maybe he himself is starting another heater here. Since he pretty much needs a big scoring night, I would probably just play him for like 35 or 40 plus, depending on the odds, as your entry play. Moving to the long shots, we're going to go back to Jamal Murray. He was in here last time. He's still 5th overall in projections at 39.2 PRA, so he's still pretty high. He's listed as probable, with illness and knee inflammation, but not questionable. He is probable, so he should play. Coming off a 51 PRA game, narrowly missed the crown when we had him here last time. He had 46. It was LeBron with 50. He's posting his career best numbers across the board this season, so no reason to think he won't continue tonight. Might see a little Luka Jamal Murray shootout here, which could just propel him to an even better outing than he would normally have. Notably, the Lakers have allowed 28.1 points, 4.5 made threes per game to guards over their last 7. So a pretty good environment for Murray's upside. I'd probably target plus money threes or assists for him if you are riding with him. And then finally, we'll go back to that same matchup against the Jazz with Julius Randle. He's not as scoring centric as Anthony Edwards, but he brings a more balanced profile. He's got 2 triple doubles this season. He can put up double-digit rebounds, occasionally in assists. He's logged 7 30-point games this year. Just had one of his best scoring night with 39 points on Friday. So he certainly has the upside. He's getting that great matchup with Utah, who notably gave him one of those triple-doubles that he had this year. He did only score 19 points in both of his triple-doubles, so it might come at a bit of a hit to his scoring. But, a couple more buckets, and that puts you over the 50 PRA threshold and in position for the crown. If you're playing him, I might just sprinkle his triple-double as the entry play.
I like it. Okay. I feel like this king of the court, we got to get Luka out of these Tuesdays.
Yeah, seriously.
It makes this so much harder for me because I'm just like, yeah, Luka's going to play and do his Luka thing and it's over. And I'm going to get a 90-cent bonus bet,
Yeah, it's tough. I really don't like to go with the favorites. Sometimes it might be a little safer if you just like to get a little bonus bet, feel the rush of winning something and move on. But I like to go for the long shots. Like, we're trying to find targets here too, different angles to attack. Last week, I went with Şengün. He did not get it, but I called out his matchup with the Bulls, particularly for assists, as being the target. He was our highest projected center for assists. He scored 11. He maxed his ladder. It was 13 plus 1320 for that. That was the entry play I used. So he didn't win the crown, but I won a plus 1320 straight bet by looking for the ways to attack this. So, we're finding other ways to do this, even if you're not getting the bonus or playing all 5 of these guys, which you can only play one. There are more ways to use this. So that's what we're trying to do ultimately.
Very good point. Yeah, find the value in the player props that the model identifies, that Dave helps curate for us without needing to go toe-to-toe with Luka Doncic and get the win. That's the goal. Okay, thank you very much. Good info as always. Next up, let's look at the PGA. We got the American Express. Ben Griffin was hot last week, one shy of first-round leader, but then it all fell apart for us. That was heartbreaking. But did you enjoy the fact that PGA was back? I just had it on background all week, and I had a lot more fun during the day.
I did. It's one of my favorite things about it is, I have my setup here for work, and then I have my TV up there on the wall. And Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I'm watching golf while I'm working and sipping my coffee and looking for all the angles for you guys. So I love it. Golf season is one of my favorite times of the year. Hopefully we'll be cashing in on the winners pretty soon. A couple other of our targets last week found some success. Harry Hall, Robert McIntyre, both landed top 10. Harry Hall was within 2 of the win going into day 4. So we had some keen insights from the model for the tournament, even if we came up a little shy. Scheffler's making his debut this weekend. So we're contending with his presence as we navigate the second event of the year. This one is also a pro-am. Every professional is paired with an amateur. Also means the rounds are going to be very long. Wouldn't be surprised to see some suspensions due to darkness for the guys late, even though this is all the way in California. Some of the guys aren't teeing off till like 1:30. So it's very possible we're going to see some delays here. So keep that in mind. But quick little oversight on the course. There's a 3-course rotation with this. Golfers are going to play across each one. And the cut isn't until after 54 holes. So the cut is after 3 rounds. Everybody plays on each course. And then everybody who makes the cut, the final round is on the stadium course. So there's kind of a lot to wrap your head around. It's not the best event to handicap for this. Including because some of the data is limited on those other courses, but they're not dramatically different. They're also a little more friendly given the nature of the Pro-Am event. So, it might be a little easier. Scores are going to be low, probably in the mid to high 20s, which they usually are. So it's going to be, pretty much whoever can just make the most birdies and eagles is going to win, which obviously is how it always happens, but it's going to be more crucial than ever. It's going to be a lot less about just maintaining your score and really shortening it up. One more thing real quick, notable trend here. 15 of the last 17 champs played at least one of the Hawaii events. Normally there are 2 before this. This year there was only 1. So maybe look at the guys who played last week and performed well as having a bit of an edge over the guys who are debuting this week, for what it's worth. So just real quick, we'll look at our guys with an edge to win. For the most part, these guys all get an edge in top 5, 10, and 20 as well. 2 of them don't show an edge here to win because they don't hit the flame threshold, but their odds are better than implied, and they get an edge in the other markets. So we'll look at them. Obviously, first up, Scotty Scheffler here, plus 300. World number 1. Only top 10 finish here, though, was a solo third in his tournament debut back in 2020. He's never won in his first 5 starts of any season, so he does get a 34.5% probability here. That does imply fair odds of plus 190. But it feels like more of a heavy tax on the world number 1 here than, where he might actually be setting up to win in his tournament debut. Certainly you can play him, but I personally would look further down the board for value. Don't have to look too far. You get Ben Griffin here second, plus 2,200, 5.7%. T19 last week at the Sony Open. Like I said, he was right there after round 1, went over par in the middle rounds with a tough little stretch. Cracked back into the top 20 by the end. He's got a T9 and a T7 here before. Projects for a 5.7 win percent probability. That would be fair odds of plus 1650. So pretty good value here. Also in top 20, he is 56.2% and plus 105. So some pretty good value there as well. Russell Henley here, we have him third, plus 2,500, 4.8%. One poor round last week kept him out of contention. He would have been right there at the end. Otherwise, probably benefiting from having Scheffler in here, getting the longer odds to win. 4.8% is fair odds of plus 1950, so still a pretty solid edge. Best finish here was T14 back in 2022. Also very attractive in placement markets. Look, he's 50% for top 20 at plus 125. Gets an edge here, top 10 and top 5 as well. So I'd probably look for a ladder play for him, maybe rather than for the outright, as you're getting better edges in those. Matt Fitzpatrick here also doesn't show the edge, but 3.4% would be fair at plus 2,900. This is his season debut and tournament debut. He's never played here before, but he was on a heater to close last season. 6 top 20s in his last 7 starts. 4 of those were top 10s. Like I said, 3.4% would be plus 2,900, so a really good edge here. Also gets an edge in top 20, 10, and 5 as well. Harry Hall, we had him bet last week. Now you got him at plus 4,500 here. Sorry, just lost my spot. Personal best T6 at the event last week with the Sony Open. He was 2 shots off the lead going into the 3rd round or into the 4th round. Finished inside the top 10 though. T21 at this event last year, his best ever at this event. 3.3% win probability would be just plus 2,900. So probably the biggest edge on the board by odds. Like I said, gets an edge in each of his placements as well. There's a ton more placement value in here too. You scroll down here, you'll find other guys, Alex Noren, Harris English, Justin Rose in the top 20 market. Usually when a guy has an edge there, he also has an edge in win probability. It just may not be over our threshold for the Flames. So would definitely dig into this. Don't sleep on the head-to-head tool either, where you can simulate any 2 golfers together. Sometimes it takes a second to load, so it may not come up here, but you can put pretty much any matchup on the board here, and it'll spit out exactly how they are projected to finish over the first round of the tournament.
Yeah, it's one of the best parts of the site for me as someone who bets a lot of golf. And
yeah, I love this thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Go check it out. But Harry Hall, best hat in golf, by the way. We love his hat. He's got like the Bryson DeChambeau fedora look of old. He's just still trying to make that work. And yeah, good to see Scotty back in action. That'll be fun for golf fans everywhere. I think Ben Griffin's going to be our guy this year, Dave. That's what I'm hearing from you as you sort through this.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great year last year with 3 wins. That doesn't happen very often. He's been improving year to year. He should set himself up for plenty this year, even if it didn't happen in the first event of the season. We're going to talk about him a lot this year.
Yep, you're going to hear it repeatedly. Great poll from you, by the way. 15 of the past 17 champions play one of the early Hawaii events. I love that poll. Thank you, Dave. Okay, let's close the show, as always, with what else is on Dimers this week.
What's on Dimers this week?
You already know conference championships will have content coming for you all the way up through the games on Sunday. PGA Tour, we just talked about it. That will update after every round, pending no delays or suspensions, which we may run into this week. So just be wary of that. Tennis plays of the day, as mentioned, those are running hot. And our freshest one for today is up on site now. Keep an eye out for those daily, as well as all of our other daily sports and insights that we've got with Dimers Pro.
Love it. Great work from the entire Dimers team. I'm pulling up the tennis parlay as we speak right this second. We'll be back on Thursday to finalize our cards for Conference Championship Week in the NFL. Good luck to those of you betting at home. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you then.